right, now to introduce our speaker today. Raamesie Umandavi is a New Thought spiritual leader and minister with over 25 years of experience in prayer, spiritual practice, and lay leadership. Her work is grounded in universal spiritual principles and the practical application of truth in everyday life. Her spiritual formation includes many years of leadership at Unity of Louisville, where she served as a prayer chaplain for 11 years, including 2 years leading the program, facilitated meditation, offered Sunday talks, and served on the board of trustees, at one point as vice president. She also helped provide spiritual continuity during a period when the congregation was without a senior minister. Raamesie is an ordained minister through the Universal Brotherhood movement and is currently continuing her ministerial studies. Her message draws from the larger New Thought tradition and resonates deeply with the principles of religious science, emphasizing spiritual law, intuitive wisdom, and our oneness with the divine. Raamesie.
Thank you, April. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, Ahava. It's good to be back with you this morning. Thank you for being here. A special shout out to anyone that came just because I was speaking today. And I do know somebody's here because I am speaking today. So that's why I say that. And then also thank you to those who are tuning in online. It was such a pleasure to meet you the last time I was here in January. You all are such lovely people. And I just kind of felt your love and light in my heart. And so I quickly returned to that as I was getting out of my car this morning. So know that what you have here is special and that you are the light of the world. And if you see darkness around you, look again because you are the light. Okay, that's going off script. So let me get on track here. What I'm learning as a minister and what I am deepening my practice into and opening into is to trust the guidance of spirit and to trust that I am in the right place at the right time to shine my light and to receive what I need. So let me give you an example. So I came in this morning. I was hoping to get here for the meditation. That didn't happen. So I had to let that go and sort of take off that that I should have got here earlier, that I should have moved faster, should have left sooner, and then drop into trust. Trust that I am on my right path at the right time. So when I came in, spoke to a few people, Gina led me to a room because I kind of wanted to catch my breath and kind of get centered. Leave that room, go to the restroom. As soon as I open the door from the restroom, Kim is walking by. And she saw me, we saw each other, so she backed up, and then we greeted each other. I know her from Louisville, and so she offered her love and light to me and then said that she was going to be the practitioner today, and she offered to pray. And so then she asked me again, was there anything that I need? So I held that as a light bulb moment. Spirit is asking again, is there anything that you need? In that moment, I didn't need anything because what was I going to do with it, like coming out of the bathroom, if I needed anything in that moment? So I will receive a prayer. So we went to a room and she prayed with me the most beautiful prayer and the most beautiful presence. So if I hadn't left the hotel room when I left the hotel room because I came last night and then went into the side room, like Spirit orchestrated a blessing for me. And so what I am in the season of in my own life is for me to trust that Spirit is orchestrating blessings and that I'm never late, I'm never behind, I am becoming. So that's my main message. And again, that's off script too. So let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming, shall we? So it's a pleasure to kick off the new month and the new theme with you. I'll be your bookend for this month. So I'm speaking today. I'm also scheduled to speak at the end of the month. Thank you, Nancy, for coordinating and scheduling and reaching out with me and being that connection of light for me to be here. So it's so great that you're kicking off a new theme of what if. And I love the CSL material that says leaning into imagination as the seed of transformation, daring to see the best in ourselves and the world, and envisioning bold new possibilities. I also loved your theme from last month where you were exploring the theme of the edge. You had such great speakers with really wonderful messages. Oftentimes, to be on the edge of bold new possibilities involves what? Change. That reminds me of a copy of O magazine I have from a few years ago, why I still have it from a few years ago, and why I have not read it from a few years ago. That's another topic. But the cover called it the transformation issue. It said, change is the greatest act of self-love. I hadn't thought about it that way, of change being an act of self-love. Of course, those changes that we actively choose to take on, I can see those as self-love. But what about those changes we don't ask for? Those changes that appear to come involuntarily, or the changes that come because somebody else did something and that's impacting us. How is that an act of self-love? And I heard Reverend Rainbow's last talk where she talked about your higher self being your always self. I love that. How about if our always self loves us so much and this divine creative principle loves us so much that it will move us sometimes into periods and seasons and changes so that we can be constantly evolving into our embodied always self. How about that for self-love? So the cover of that magazine also said, the whole point of being alive is to evolve into the complete person you were meant to be. So check in with you for a second. Are you being and embodying the complete person you were meant to be? You don't have to raise your hand. You could, but you don't have to raise your hands. Just an inner question, because there's always this moment and this moment and this moment that we can choose to open ourselves to change and seasons of transformation. Sometimes change asks us to stretch past our comfort zone, do things that we know we need to do, but we don't feel like doing. I have a lot of those. Also, stretching past our comfort zone calls us to face things we would rather not face, to unearth and pull out those things that we may have stuffed and denied and just not dealt with for a few decades. Sometimes stretching past our comfort zone asks us to let go of habits and limited ideas, people, and situations. And sometimes it's the other way around, where people and situations let go of us. Have you had that? Somebody else decides that they need to change to be who they are meant to be, and then that impacts us. And those are not easy. Those are not easy. And of course, turn on the news on any given day, any given moment, there is a lot happening in the world. I saw the news this morning in my hotel room, like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that was happening. It's so scary. Politically, socially, economically, technologically, all the ways. The pace of change is fast, and the volume of fear and concern are rising. And many people, perhaps to varying degrees, feel overwhelmed, and rightly so. We sometimes might feel unsettled or uncertain. So in our time today, I'd like to explore some ideas that I'm calling understanding your point of power amidst this backdrop of change and season of transition, and also a season of transformation. Because the truth is, regardless of what's going on in the outer screen of life, we have power. We don't have to go make it. We don't have to wait for Amazon to deliver it. We don't have to wait for another person to see it, because sometimes they don't. I know some of those for me. We have power. So in the Center for Spiritual Living and other New Thought community, we know that our deepest power is not found in trying to control the external, because that'll get you frustrated and tired. We want to go within. There is a YouTube video of a recording of a talk given by Raymond Charles Barker on how to solve problems. The mic drop line in his talk is when he suggests that we stop running around in the world of form, and that he quotes one of his spiritual teachers when he says, there is not something to do materially, there is only something to know spiritually. I love that. There is not something to do materially, there is only something to know spiritually. What is that something to know? So I came up last night, and I actually was sick last week. So I was kind of a little worried about, am I going to feel good in time to be able to give my talk, and can I stand up here and not pass out? So I didn't really pack. I just threw some stuff in a bag and threw several outfits, because I didn't have the energy before today to try to figure out what I was going to wear. So I just threw some stuff in the bag and figured I'd have to choose from one of those. As Spirit would have it, Heather and Kim and I are coordinating. Thank you. We did that on purpose. So something else I threw in my bag, I think I was near my printer and getting my pages for where I had printed out my talk. And near there was a cabinet where I have a little drawer, and I have notebooks from where I have taken notes in church or through readings or workshops. I've done it all in 26 years. So I have a lot of those notebooks still. So I had forgotten about them. And so I threw a few in my bag thinking, oh, okay, I'll read through those and then see if I get anything. And I'm not exactly sure. At that moment, that's not exactly the thought I had. Just something said, just grab some of those. So I did. And as it would happen again in listening to that divine nudge, which is how it happens for me, I don't always know why I'm getting the nudge that I'm getting, but it all lands in perfect timing. So I want to quote one of the things that I found in one of those notebooks, that there is not something to do materially, there is only something to know spiritually. And it says, I think about which one, because I came across several. I am willing to trust that something even better for me is being orchestrated by the universe and will show up at exactly the right time. I love that. Ernest Holmes taught that there is one creative power underlying everything, one presence, one life, and that life is our life now. So the foundation to my talk then, understanding your point of power, is understanding that you do have power. And also remembering that, aligning or realigning, owning, giving voice to, standing up in your power, and standing up within yourself from a place of power. The metaphysical meaning of power is our innate control of our thoughts and feelings, knowing that whatever we see in the external has its parallel in mind. There is a universal creative force that urges us forward to the recognition of the creative power of our individual thought. So here's another quote that fits perfectly. And I don't remember where I got this from, so I'm afraid I can't quote the author, but this is probably from about 20 years ago. How we think releases an infinite number of possibilities that could not have occurred had we not believed they were possible. Such is the power of our thoughts. How about that as a what if? With the things that are happening in our lives, understanding our point of power is to remember that we are the power of creative principle and action. And so we might find ourselves asking, how do I get grounded and become emotionally steady? How do I transform anxiety and overwhelm and experience a sense of inner peace? Because it's easy to kind of get knocked off your center. Like, all this sounds good, but when I leave today, on the way home, like, it's easy to get knocked off your center. So how do we come back to breath, come back to presence? How do I take aligned action when things are uncertain? When I was seeing what was happening on the news and what had happened that I was clueless, how do I take inspired action when things are so uncertain? So I want to give you 3 tools, because I believe my intention as a minister is to not just talk to you, not talk at you. When I go to church, I want to have something that I can apply to my life to help me through the week and the month and the season and the whatevers. So I want to give you 3 tools and ways to integrate this spiritual truth and knowing in your own life. You can try them on. So if they don't fit good, try another one. The first one is, how ironic, the silence. Because your meditation song was The Silence by Jack Fowler. So there are 2 different types of silence. One is the absence of noise and talking. The other is a state of consciousness. There is the study of metaphysics where there is a state of awareness called the silence. So that's the one that I want to speak about. The silence as a state of consciousness. So you enter into the silence as a state of consciousness, as a state of awareness, for the purpose of putting each person in touch with divine mind, so that the soul may listen to the still small voice. How do you do that? You take a period of rest and quiet. Some teachers may say, sort of, you go apart a while, and that you are able to sort of take a moment away from the outer world so that you may commune with the divine within. Sometimes the silence might be a part of your prayer and meditation practice. So you want to still your outer thoughts until you reach a state of no awareness, no time. So we practice the silence as a mind habit where we retreat from the relative realm of sense consciousness, where you're paying attention to all the stuff that's out here, and that you release the details of your everyday life and you instead discern and remember the oneness of being. It is not easy, but great homework. Stillness precedes power. In the Bible, Acts 1, verse 8 says, "You shall receive power when the Holy Spirit is come upon you." From the consciousness of the silence, we can then move to the next level, the next tool, which is AI. AI is the big buzzwords these days and is equally controversial. On one hand, some love it for identifying opportunities to improve productivity, process vast amounts of data, help in decision making. On the other hand, there are concerns about data privacy, bias, environmental impact, and more. But don't worry, because this is actually what I'm not even talking about AI as I've just described it. I know, right? Thank goodness. I am talking about the opportunity to practice a different AI, and I think you're going to like this one. Actualize the infinite. Oh, that feels so much better, doesn't it? Actualize the infinite. This refers to how we engage with the world from a place of our connection with the limitless or boundless nature of existence. The divine or universal consciousness that transcends individual existence. Actualizing this means aligning ourselves with this higher consciousness and then moving through our day-to-day life from this awareness. Okay, so another quote from a 20-year-old note taker back then. "Whoever you think you are is smaller than who you really are." And then here is another one. Right identification. Who are you? So actualizing the infinite. So first you have the stillness as a state of consciousness where you're becoming aware of your right identification as a creative participant in life and your oneness with your divine nature. Actualizing the infinite then means treating yourself as the living embodiment of God. And then moving through your day from that, as an open channel of that flowing through you. I think I like that kind of AI. Other forms of AI you might explore and have fun with. Align with infinite intelligence. Aligned intention. Awakened imagination. Access the I am. Affirm the inner. So you can add some of your own. The point is, from the consciousness of the silence again, we reach a state of realization. Prayer and meditation, we are aligning ourselves to the things and the frequency and the vibration and the thoughts that are already true. We are not praying to change anything. If we're doing it right, we're not. And we're also not asking for anything if we're doing it right. There is a place for asking. And true prayer is lifting our thoughts above the situation to where the answers and solutions exist. So lifting up from the small self, the appearances, what's happening on the outer, and connecting with true realization. Assurance of the fulfillment of the perfect idea. Atonement, which means at-one-ment, completion, wholeness, repose, and then moving and embodying from that state of consciousness. So how about that when you go to the grocery store? Actualizing the infinite. When you're on hold with somebody, or when you're standing with someone that can easily push your buttons, standing there with an undefended heart as grace and presence. We don't have to control what's happening out here. Because sometimes they just resist and don't cooperate anyway, do they? They don't usually for me. And also knowing that we have power. We have influence. So that takes me to my last one as our tool. So first level was the stillness. Next level was actualizing the infinite. So next we have causing an effect. You familiar with the law of cause and effect? Where something happens as a result of something else? So I'm flipping this. Instead of our basic cause and effect, we change our stance to where we are the ones causing an effect. That's how powerful we are. We can cause an effect. We can't always make people do what we want them to do, or act the way we want to act, or choose the way that we want them to choose. I have a 16-year-old. We do not agree on the stuff that I be wanting her to choose. And I am learning, first of all, she stands really firm and wanting to do the opposite of what I ask her to do. And I also am learning enough to remember she is a divine child of God. She is as connected as anybody. And that what is her path is her path. And that me as the parent, I do not have to orchestrate her path for it to be a divine path. My job is for me to stand in my knowing and then sometimes brace for the truth that she points out about me. That's not easy. That's not easy. She's a beautiful light. I love her. And also, causing an effect reminds me that I have power, but I don't have to have control. Because when I release to spirit, God knows how to work out the timing of you coming out of the bathroom and the person that can bless you. So how many of you are familiar with chaos theory? You ever heard of that? Chaos theory. It's basically a branch of a study of mathematics and physics where you're studying behavior that appears to be random and chaotic and unpredictable that actually is operating under presence of meaning and divine purpose amid what looks like disorder. A space where transformation and creation happen even in the most unpredictable or turbulent moments. That actually sounds hopeful. With what's going on in the world today, it looks crazily turbulent and chaotic. But also knowing that in the midst that there is still only one presence and one power, regardless of what anybody ever says on the news or whatever happens, there is still one presence and one power. Ernest Holmes writes in The Science of Mind, when we use our creative imagination and strong faith, it will create for us out of the one substance whatever we have formed in thought. So God is still God, regardless of what's happening. And so this is where we can use our divine power of imagination to influence change and transformation, not as a hobby as a hobby of the mind, but as a function of creative law. We can imagine from a place of faith instead of fear. Instead of rehearsing catastrophe or repeating it in gossip, we envision coherence. So in a world that is shifting, your power is internal. The stillness anchors you. Imagination is the blueprint. And despite outer appearances, any problems or situations we are facing in our personal lives, remember that it's often from a sense of discontent, feelings of incompleteness, or twinges of unhappiness that the seeds of great accomplishment are sown. So when it looks jumbled and messed up and, oh my goodness, where are we heading? Know that there is still hope. And also, and I am winding down, I promise. The universe doesn't make mistakes. Your path, your timing, your heart, it's all purposeful. So that magazine I didn't read when I got it 3 years ago, or the thing that I thought that I would do. So as a minister, one of the things that I'm sort of, just to tell you where I am in the season of my life personally, I am wanting to start launching myself into more visible leadership, into sort of basically like creating my ministry. Now I work full time, so I spend more time at my job than I do in my ministry. And then also I am taking classes to get ordained to become a unity minister. To get ordained as a unity minister, I actually plan to be sort of independent, kind of go where Spirit leads. And I don't know what that looks like. So for me personally, one of my goals has been, Spirit, use me. What would you have for me? So when week after week after week, I find myself not getting to the things I thought I needed to do along this path, I am reminded that I'm not late. I'm not behind. When it's me turning the corner and I am a blessing to someone else, that is perfect timing. I am in the right place at the right time for how Spirit would use me. So the plot twists in your own story are not accidents. They are opportunities. They are alignments. Every not yet is protecting you. Every no is guiding you. And every wait is preparing you. Trust the delays. Trust the detours. And I'm also being led to say, trust the open doors. So when the opportunity is there, and when the person walks by, seize the opportunity, because that is Spirit answering a prayer for you or for another person or for somebody else watching. We never know all the time in the moment. Trust that the divine redirections have special gifts and blessings that have been carefully placed on your path. So again, you're not lost or late, you're being led. And in spite of what it might look like, even for you as a spiritual community, so now you're going to be going through the process of a minister search. God is in that too. You are not without. You are as provided for and guided and being positioned for your next highest good as a community. What might look like mistakes or wrong turns, your path isn't wrong. Again, it is perfectly crafted for who you are becoming. All right, so before I close, let me see if there's anything else Spirit wants me to add. Ooh, here's one, and I'm going to end in prayer. What you think is wrong with you might be what's right with you. So let us close in prayer. So let us take a breath. Spirit came through with a lot, and we are open vessels ready to receive what is ours, our always self. So if you haven't and would like to, invite you to close your outer eyes and open your heart. Take another deep, deep, deep cleansing breath. A breath that allows you to surrender and anchor to your seat. A breath that allows you to open to what is ready to rush in. What Spirit is orchestrating and aligning and harmonizing for you as a community and for you in your personal life. Right now, we know, affirm, and claim that there is one God, one mind, one Spirit, one life, one health, one peace, always right action. It is now. It is in us, available to us, coming into us, flowing through us, and in action through us now. Divine mind, divine life is healing. It is blessing. It is prospering. And it is making us the great people that the divine mind intended us to be. That we came here on a mission to be, to express, to do, to have, to give, to love, to shine, to receive, to forgive, to allow, to open to let go, release, and to embody and actualize. And so we release these words, we release this knowing into the truth, into the law creative principle. And we give thanks in advance of any physical or tangible manifestation, knowing that aligning, allowing, receiving are enough. And we trust the perfect outcome at the perfect time in the perfect way. And we know this to be true, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.